The question is what do I think about atheist? Okay, that could be one of two things. Either they're asking, what do I think about atheism or atheists? I mean, what I'll say about atheists is obviously I think they're human persons made in the image and likeness of God who deserve to be loved, who deserve to be tolerated, not tolerated actually, that's not enough, to be loved, that we should will their good and see them as children of God, even if they don't believe that they're children of God. So that's what I think about atheists. What do I think about atheism? I think it's wrong. I think God does exist. I think God is real. I was actually just having a conversation with a coworker about this earlier today, that, atheism and faith, I guess particularly the Christian faith, both of them are actually positions of faith. We oftentimes think that just a religious position is a position of faith, and that atheism is totally all using your reason. It's a complete intellectual decision. And actually, I forget who I was listening to the other day, but this other person, a famous philosopher, I believe, was talking about how actually atheism is very rarely an intellectual assent. It's usually driven by a moral reason, but that's a whole nother conversation. And so I genuinely believe that atheism, as much as Catholicism or any religion, is really an act of faith, because we can't totally know completely with full conclusive evidence that atheism is true or that Catholicism is true, right? There's not full conclusive evidence. That's why it requires faith. However, both of them, particularly in my opinion, Catholicism, as well as I think you could say atheism from the atheist's perspective, are both positions of reasonable faith. I 100% believe that the way that I assent to my faith as a Catholic is not totally blindly. I don't just jump off a cliff with a blindfold on with no sort of reasons for believing. Instead, I believe that of the reasons that I have examined and through my experience and kind of seen that it seems that everything sort of collectively comes together and doesn't contradict itself, I find that it's quite reasonable to give an assent of faith to Catholicism, to Jesus Christ and his church. Now, someone else may disagree with me, but again, that's a combination of both my experience, life experience, and the reasons, intellectual reasons, I think, for believing. Now, for atheism, you can say the same thing, that when it comes to atheism, it is often, at least from the atheist perspective, a reasonable intellectual pursuit. However, again, as I said, there's this sense that it does require faith. You can't totally prove atheism. You can't totally prove that God doesn't exist, which I would say that's why most atheists are actually in the position of being agnostic. And I think many of them would sort of say that in one way or another. And so, yeah, what do I think about atheism? It comes down to the fact that I think that atheism is wrong, but I respect that there are those who think that it is reasonable, and that is why they're pursuing it. But I challenge them to consider maybe there's a deeper reason why they don't want God to exist, more so than just an intellectual reason. So yeah.